We were in Colorado for a week-long trip, exploring the incredible habitats and trying to have as many interesting birding experiences as we can. On our first day, our friend Jeremiah from Colorado Grouse Tours showed us around the town of Hayden and then got us some incredibly stunning views of greater sage grouse. On our second day, we planned on meeting up with Jeremiah again, but before that, we had some time to ourselves to go birding around town. We got our first birds of the day without even leaving the neighborhood we were staying in.
It is the start of our second full day here in Colorado, and there are some pronghorn on the hill over here and a western kingbird hanging out on the wire and western meadowlark singing. Absolutely beautiful. Can't wait to see what else we can find today, but this is a great start to it. Meadowlarks are so loud, it feels like they're right next to you.
Our plan for the morning was to stay fairly local and start around Hayden.
We get kind of a late start today because we were really tired from the flight in and then birding all day yesterday. So it's still morning right now, and we've got a little bit of time before we meet up with Jeremiah. So we're just going to kind of cruise the town of Hayden, which the more I get to see it, the more I like it. It feels like everyone knows each other and is really friendly. And we're just going to see if there's any interesting birds around to get some more videos of that we didn't get prolonged looks of yesterday.
After a quick coffee stop, we started our birding effort, finding a few new birds in town.
First new species of the day, got lesser goldfinch and a pine siskin that was at a feeder at someone's house. So we're on the board for new species already, just cruising around town, which is a good feeling.
After locating a few birds around Hayden, we decided to travel to a nearby hotspot, Elkhead Creek Reservoir.
We're here checking out a reservoir sort of near where we're staying, and this is our first look at a big body of water in Colorado. So we're hoping maybe we can find some birds on the water, some birds in the surrounding area.
It took us no time at all to find a western species at the reservoir.
There's a Say's phoebe nest right up here. Saw it fly out, so it should be around, but it's cool to see, some of these western birds nesting.
After watching the phoebe for a while, we started walking one of the trails around the reservoir, where we found a sleek-looking blackbird species that was quite common in the area.
This area has been really good for Brewer's blackbirds. They're a species that lives in the Midwest where we live, but they are kind of habitat specific. So it's always fun to come out west and then see them in a bunch of different areas. They actually are really pretty with their iridescent shine on the back.
While walking the trail, we were constantly looking out on the water, hoping to see ducks and grebes. Eventually, we found one of the more expected species.
Picked out a couple western grebes out here in the reservoir. They're always a neat species to see when you're out west, and you can differentiate them from Clarks because they have the dark that covers the eye, and Clarks that would be white. So we're always looking for Clarks when we're searching for westerns, but it's a good reservoir species.
We continued walking and encountered a brewer's sparrow, a bird that is very habitat specific and at home in the sagebrush.
Just had a brewer's sparrow singing really nicely. You may be able to still hear it in the background, but that's been a species that has been surprisingly common in the sagebrush habitat. What I love about the sagebrush is stuff normally perches up to sing. So it's not that tall. So like any of the higher areas, stuff will perch up and sing. So that's been nice for us.
Having reached the end of the trail, we started heading back. But before getting too far, we noticed a plant that to us was somewhat surprising to find, yet actually quite numerous.
So right here is a prickly pear cactus, and you can see that these are all going to be flowers and then eventually fruits. So we have one flower that's already going there, which is a nice yellow flower. I'm always fascinated by the different types of plants and things that are around in these areas. And prickly pear cactus, one you usually think about in the desert, also here in Colorado.
Eventually, we made our way back to the car and started heading back to Hayden. However, the drive went through some great habitat and gave us the chance to keep spotting birds.
After walking the reservoir, we've just been driving this sagebrush habitat on these country roads and picked up a lot of different sparrows. Nothing that's new for the trip, but nice looks at Vesper, nice looks at Brewers, got a meadowlark on a power line. So there's a lot of cool stuff out here if you just drive around, and if you're patient, you'll get some chances to see it sitting up, which is really nice.
In addition to the birds, there was a mammal that caught our eye as well.
We stopped to look at some pronghorn, and one has 2 babies. So the pronghorn are really awesome to see, but with the babies, it's kind of cuteness overload. So I'm glad we got to see those pronghorn, and not having them by us, we really appreciate them a lot.
Pronghorn are actually really interesting animals because they're referred to as pronghorn antelope, although they're actually not related to African antelope at all. Their closest living relative is actually giraffes. You can kind of see that when you look at their head shape and just kind of how they look in general with their horns and everything. So really unique animal that you can get in the western parts of the United States, and just awesome to be able to get the chance to see them like this.
After a nice morning of birding, we met up with Jeremiah and went to Steamboat Springs, a ski town that attracts plenty of tourists and apparently plenty of birds. However, there was one woodpecker species in particular that we were trying to track down.
We're now here in Steamboat Springs and we're looking for red-naped sapsucker. We had some cedar waxwings right when we parked, but we're going to walk these trails and see what we can find.
Great urban wildlife here in Steamboat. This area alone, I've seen 2 species of grouse regularly, sharp-tailed grouse, dusky grouse. Good spot for red-naped sapsucker. And then the river down here, there's osprey nesting platforms, good waterfowl, good place for cinnamon teal, that sort of thing. It's cool. In the winter, the sharp-tailed grouse come into town and feed a lot off of the ornamentals. And you'll see them in the morning waiting for the sun to come up on the peaks of these hotels.
We started walking around town, finding some common birds.
Got a ruby-crowned kinglet, so that's a new trip bird. And I always enjoy walking around these towns that are in a different place than where you are used to birding, because there's just so much variety that you're not used to. So I'm just hearing stuff from every direction that I'm not entirely sure what it is. Hopefully we can find some of these sapsuckers we're looking for, or other cool birds as well.
We kept walking around Steamboat Springs, spotting pine siskins, tree swallows, and a few spotted sandpipers, among other expected species. Not having any luck finding red-naped sapsuckers in this area, we moved on.
We moved on from our first location. Now we're actually at a botanical garden, and we're hoping to find those sapsuckers, the red-naped sapsucker to be specific. So looks like there's some great habitat here, and we'll see what we can pull out of it.
With many tall aspen trees, this location seemed like it could be a great place to find our target bird.
So this place looks perfect for woodpecker species, and we've seen holes in the trees, so they have been here. We are not really seeing much of anything. We got a robin over here. That's kind of about it right now.
We started searching, seeing a lot of beautiful plants and water features in the botanical garden, and finding a lot of robins in the process. In addition to the robins, we found many hummingbirds enjoying the flowers.
It's been a pair of broad-tailed hummingbirds hanging out around here. I think this one's trying to get a drink, and then the female's chasing the male.
After walking the botanical garden for a while, we switched to a path that went alongside the river. Here, we saw nesting ospreys and got a close-up view of a bright swallow species.
Getting toward the end of our walk here at the botanical garden, and found a tree swallow on a nest box. That's a good look at the tree swallow. No sapsuckers, but hoping that we can get some somewhere either later today or further down in the week.
Yeah, we've got no woodpeckers here for whatever reason. There's so much good habitat for them, but the mosquitoes are pretty bad. It's been rough swatting them away. So that's one thing didn't really consider when I went short sleeves, but we're going to keep looking on the way back, see if maybe we can find at least some woodpecker species.
In spite of our best efforts, we still weren't able to find any sapsuckers. For dinner, we went to a place that has a type of pizza that we had never heard of, called Colorado-style pizza. It seems there's a bit of murkiness around whether Colorado-style pizza is actually even a real thing, or if it was simply invented by the Steamboat Springs restaurant called Bojo's as a gimmick. Characterized by its incredibly thick crust and honey to go on top, we wanted to give it a try.
It's good. I gotta try look at how thick the crust is.
Boys aren't impressed by Colorado pizza. We're not known for our pizza. I've never heard anyone mention our pizza.
That's an entire bread. You
That's
have an
just like
entire
a
bread
baguette.
on your pizza.
Like-
Yeah, it tastes like a baguette.
Maybe
I'm not
that's why you
opposed.
need liquid for it.
Maybe.
What is it? What's the rating?
It's really thick.
I'm gonna go with 7.4.
Oh, okay. Just tried a Colorado-style pizza, which is pretty good, very doughy, but they had some honey you could put on the crust, so glad we got to try that. And we're going to head up the mountains and see what else we can get.
Before even getting in the car, we had an encounter with one of the most beautiful swallow species in the country.
Just got absolutely sweet looks at a violet green swallow. We've seen a couple flying around this trip, but to get them perched like that is really special. That incredibly iridescent green with some purple on the rump. Spectacular bird.
We switched gears from birding around town to birding in the mountains, where thick forests created habitat for a different group of birds that can be a little more secretive. Before finding any birds here, we spotted a mammal that Colorado is known for.
Just had a little elk sighting, the first one of the trip. There was 4 on the side of the road, just as the sun is starting to go down. So that was our first elk sighting, feeling good about that. Will we see more later? Hopefully. Will we see more elk later?
Absolutely.
More elk later. More to come.
We continued going up in elevation, and while driving, Jeremiah spotted one of the most interesting birds in the state, the American dipper.
We were just driving down this road, and then Jeremiah spotted a dipper by this bridge while we were going down the road at pretty high speed. So that was an impressive find. Got some videos of it, although it is getting dark, and it was not a road that you can really spend a lot of time stopped on. So we moved on now, but it was really great to see an American dipper, our first one in Colorado.
By the time we got to our first scheduled stop in the mountains, the light was fading. Right away, we saw an interesting bird fly overhead.
Just had a bird fly over that looked like a nightjar, so it didn't have the white wings or white patches on the wings that a nighthawk would have, so we're thinking it's a common poorwill, which would be a lifer for me. We're going to check it later just to verify, but I'm pretty excited about that. That was a nice bonus bird up here.
We walked a forest road that rose up in elevation. While it was fairly quiet, we managed to find an amazing bird right as we were about to turn back. A dusky grouse that was performing a mating display.
We got a dusky grouse, which was awesome. It was actually doing a little displaying. You'd see kind of the throat sacs popping out. So it did its thing for a little bit and then kind of ran up the road. But glad we were able to get another grouse species up here. There's still time to find some owls.
Nice dusky grouse behavior. Right at dark too, really cool.
That was a ridiculous experience. That
I
was
know.
grouse number 2.
In the dark though, like,
He's dusky.
dude. This area's good for dusky. I tried to tell you guys.
Yeah, well, you nailed it on that one. So yeah, you're two for 2 so far.
At least,
on the
you know,
grouse.
I hope you got good footage, but you got a good life experience.
Yeah, just over there,
Yeah, he just flushed into the trees there.
crashing. Yeah, that was cool. We got to see him strutting. That was
Yeah.
nice. We got to see his neck sack bulging out a little bit.
Dude, and so you saw when we walked up, you thought we flushed him, but it's part of the display. He jumps up and does this wing snap and then resets like to get into the behavior. So it's really unique. That's usually a pretty aggressive posture. So I think, you know, are we another male, not a breeding female? And then obviously the way he leaned over and he fanned his tail a little, but he was moving quickly the other way. So I would say that's likely, you know, behavior of, you know, another male not thinking we're a breeding female, we're someone to come check out and impress for. So he showed a couple displays and then we're
He was
3
like,
guys. Yeah, and we're 3, you know, men. So he's like, this isn't worth,
This isn't what I want.
this is not what I'm interested in.
After checking dusky grouse off of our life lists, we drove even higher into the mountains in hope of finding a secretive and difficult to locate owl species.
We're here looking for flammulated owls, and I've been told that this habitat is very flammy. So we're just gonna listen on this road and see if we can hear anything coming from this woods. And fingers crossed that we can get our lifer flammulated owl.
Fairly quickly after starting our search, we had success hearing multiple owls making noises from the trees.
We're on the board with flammulated owl. We had really nice recordings of it. Heard it from the side of the road. It seemed like there was probably 2 of them, and then also heard a long-eared owl mixed in. So we're off to a great start here with the flammulated owl, a life bird for both of us.
We continued looking around the forest roads and listening, finding at least 6 flammulated owls in total, but never actually seeing one. Even so, we were very excited to get the chance to encounter them, and with our day as a whole. Our second full day in Colorado was another incredible experience, filled with more spectacular scenery and mountain bird species. The highlights of the day included the displaying dusky grouse, and our nighttime drive through the mountains to find flammulated owls. If you're interested in seeing these areas and other amazing Colorado birds, take a look at Jeremiah's website by following the link in the description below for Colorado grouse tours. Also, stay tuned for more videos from our trip, and as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.